Bert Oliva's Mastermind Circle.
Welcome to Mastermind Circle. I'm not Bert Oliva. I'm Val Leichman. I'm the operations manager here at BOWA World, which means I'm usually a behind-the-scenes kind of person, not in front of the camera. But one of the things that Bert always likes to teach us is moving outside our comfort zones and trying new things. So in the next few months, you're going to see all of the different BOWA team members come up in front of Mastermind and teach you guys a little bit about what we do and some tools that you can use in your own life that correspond to our different specialties. And tonight, I'm going to be talking about some tech tools for you because that's my passion, that's my specialty. But before I get into that, let's go ahead and start Mastermind off right and watch the intro video to the whole program and learn a little bit more about it. So I'll see you guys in a few.
Bert Oliva is an international orator. He speaks around the world about his experiences and teaches humanology, the scientific study of human potential. He has enchanted audiences all over the world, showing them the power of mind over matter.
He's one of the most talented speakers out here, and I highly recommend him to any type of.
The more prepared you are, the luckier you'll be.
He is the world-renowned authority on leadership and human behavior.
Mr. Bert Oliva.
Bert Oliva!
He's considered the voice of inspiration and motivation. Today he'll pass his knowledge on to all of us.
For over 2 decades, Bert Oliva has touched the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. Bert has a dedicated social media following and an impressive online influence few possess, enabling him to communicate with audiences he has touched near and far.
I think he's one of the greatest motivators out there.
The thing I love about Bert is he's on stage and he gives his heart every single time.
He has developed many programs, recorded audio CDs, and written books, all of which to help those ranging from individuals to corporate and Fortune 500 companies. He has dedicated his life to speaking all over the globe and met some of the most influential and powerful people in the world.
Okay, let's go.
He has also coached highly successful business executives and politicians.
Normally seen as impossible.
I believe that I did it.
An infectious motivator.
So get ready to learn tools that will help you tap into your potential.
Pay attention, this is real stuff.
Get ready to have an experience you won't soon forget. Please help me welcome Bert Oliva.
Tonight, I'm going to be talking to you guys about Google. And I absolutely adore Google. I think Google is an amazing company because it really epitomizes what we should be doing as human beings in a lot of ways. One of the reasons is because Google really focuses on its employees, and it wants its employees to foster creativity and foster thinking outside the box and always pushing themselves to the new limits. So with Google, they actually have their employees work, I believe it's about 20% of their week on a non-Google project because they believe that working on a project outside of their normal realm will actually make them more creative. And they've shown that by doing this, you actually can solve problems in your regular workday as well. I know that when I'm working on a project and I'm hitting a wall, if I take a break and go do something else and then come back to it, usually I come up with new ideas and new answers. Now, the really neat thing is the 7 tools that I'm going to be showing you guys have actually been developed by Google employees for the most part outside of their regular workday. So that's one of the reasons that I wanted to share it with you. Now, when I talk about Google, a lot of people like to say, you know, Google versus Apple, like there's a whole big argument between which one's better. And that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is actually Google, the search engine. And all the tools that I'm going to be talking about are things that are within the Google search engine. And I think that for the most part, everybody here would agree that Google is probably one of, if not the top search engines in the world. If you guys agree with me, would you go ahead and raise your hands for me? That's what I thought. So the one thing though is Google is actually a lot more than just a search engine. It has a lot of useful functions outside of that. And these tools are some that some of you guys may know, some it may be just a refresher course, but they're useful because you can use them right from your phone, whether it's Apple or Android, without having to download a new app, remember where you put the app, worry about extra room on your phone or anything else. And they're just useful everyday tools that you may have to use. And as Bert says, there's tools for everything. You have communication tools, you have relationship tools, and you even have Google tools. And it's useful to know what tools you have in your toolbox so that you can always go back and use them when you need them. So let's get started. All right, so the first one is actually, Google is actually a calculator. So let me go ahead and show you what I mean. So here I am at my favorite screen, and all you have to do is right in the regular search bar, you can go ahead and type in any kind of formula or any kind of math problem you want. So we can do 1 + 3 - 4 + 7 and hit enter. And it will actually bring up an entire calculator for you to work on. And what's pretty neat is you can actually push the buttons and it will tell you, it's a full working calculator. You don't have to open up anything else. And it will even switch between radians and degrees. It has a whole graphing calculator portion to it. It's just a useful little tool that's there that a lot of people don't know is there. The next one is Google also will convert currency for you. This is very useful for us because we do proposals for other countries and things like that. Like right now, part of our team is over in Ecuador. And so a lot of times with our different proposals, we always have to look up, okay, what is the US dollar worth right now? How much should this proposal be written in, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's useful because if I go ahead and I show it to you, all you have to do is type in, let's say 10 US dollars to euro. And it will bring up a nice little tool widget, this little box here on top. And it will show you that right now 10 US dollars is worth $9.20 in euro. Right here, as you can see, is all different types of currencies that you can convert to, and it will even show you a little graph to show you exactly, what the value of the currency has been over time. So again, just another useful tool to know that's there. Number 3, all right, this is one of my favorites. This one is a tip calculator. Now, I don't know how many of you guys like to go out with friends or things like that, but I go out with my friends a lot, and a lot of times we're always trying to figure out splitting the bill and things like that, and it's kind of a pain. So now, all you have to do is type in tip calculator in Google, and it will bring up, again, another little tool widget that you can go ahead and put in the total amount of the bill, say it's $50, choose the amount that you want to tip. And then the really neat thing is you can actually say how many people were there and it will split the bill for you. Come on, that's pretty neat. Okay, so the fourth one is Google also has a unit converter in there. And the neat thing about the unit converter is it's very useful for people who like to bake or things like that. Like I love to bake. And if I go ahead and I say, what is 5 tablespoons in teaspoons? And again, it brings up another little tool widget and it shows you, okay, 5 tablespoons are worth 15 US teaspoons. But now if you look at the top here, it'll give you all different categories that you can choose from, including pressure, temperature, time, and things like that. And what's really useful, in my opinion, is it will also convert from the metric system over to the imperial system, which is useful because I still, for the life of me, don't know how long a millimeter is. Probably never will. Now, another thing that Google has built into it, which most of our phones have built into it as well, but this is useful if you're on a computer or you just don't want to have to open up the app on your phone, is Google also has a timer and a stopwatch built into it. So if you go ahead and go here and say, let's take a 5-minute timer, it will actually start a timer for you. And you can choose whether you want to make it full screen, whether you want there to be sound or not. And it also has a stopwatch. Now, an interesting little tidbit here is this timer is how we started out when we started out our masterminds online, how we started timing everybody's stories to make sure that they were sharing their story in under 5 minutes. All right, number 6, Google is also a flight tracker. So if you want to track a flight, which we'll go ahead and do a Copa flight, because that's the airline that some of our team just flew to Ecuador on. Oh, and see, Google will even warn you about the timer. They don't want you to leave because your timer's still going. but let's see. Okay, so here it'll show you the flight schedule, it'll show you when it's due to come in or leave, et cetera, et cetera. And depending on the airline, it will even have a link here that will allow you to click and go to the airline itself to get some more information. Again, it's just another useful thing to have. And depending on the type of phone you have, once you search for a flight, you may even get a notification on your phone about the flight if it gets delayed or things like that. Google keeps track of it, which some people say is a little creepy that Google will track you like that. And it can be, but it can also be very useful because sometimes you're not paying that much attention to things and Google will remind you of things. So there's a plus and a minus to it. The seventh one is Google Translator, which again is a very useful thing because especially for us where we're traveling to all different countries and things like that, we don't necessarily know exactly how to say everything. So you can go ahead and just write in the search bar, type, let's see, translate, make it happen to Spanish. We'll use that one because it's in my history. And again, it brings up a nice little tool widget. And you can see that here, this is English and this is Spanish. And the neat thing is it will actually pronounce it for you.
Que suceda.
So that you don't have to mispronounce it. You can learn how to pronounce it right. And it, again, will give you all different types of languages that you can try and convert to and learn different things. Google Translator actually has its own separate app that is a useful one if you want some more details and some more options. It's very useful when you're traveling because on your phone itself, it will actually let you speak into the phone and it will then convert it and speak out for you. So if you're talking to somebody and you don't speak the same language, your phone will actually help you communicate. That is actually number 7 of all of the tools, but let me go ahead and show you guys 2 other really neat things. We've got this one thing that Google recently did called Arts and Culture, where Google has made a deal with a bunch of different museums and art galleries to start creating virtual tours of all of their different pieces. So you can actually travel the world seeing the various pieces of art without actually having to leave your living room, which is pretty neat. Like let's see, down here we can explore the White House, which is pretty neat. And it will actually let you take a whole tour of the entire place and you can walk through it and see where you are. And then it has specific pieces that it's highlighted for you that you can actually click on and see, which is pretty neat. And it will let you zoom all the way in. It's a pretty neat thing that Google's done completely for free. And granted, I still think that actually traveling is better than, you can see it in person. However, it's still pretty neat to be able to really sit there and explore things and learn the culture and learn some history behind the pieces without having to go anywhere. All right, and let's see. The other thing that I want to show you guys, especially because a lot of you are business people, are Google Alerts. So let's go ahead and go back to Google. All right, so if you just type in alerts, Google Alerts basically allow you to monitor the web without having to sit there and continuously search. So what that means is once you create an alert, Google will send you an email and let you know, okay, this new content has been created that matches your search string. And so it can keep you up to date on things without having to continuously search for yourself. So as you can see, I have some alerts set up, to be notified when new content about Bert Oliva shows up, or BOWA World, or BOWAworld.com. But let's go ahead and create one so you can see how it looks. So if I go ahead and I type in, let's monitor Mastermind Circle. So I go ahead and I type in Mastermind Circle and I click Show Options. Now you can choose how often do you want to be notified. I don't suggest as it happens because that one, depending on your search string, you will get emails all day long of random stuff that may or may not really apply. I tend to like at most once a day because it will give you a nice summary with a bunch of different posts that apply to what you're looking for. You can also choose languages if you want it in some different languages. You can choose which region you want the content to be coming from. And then you can also choose only the best results or all results. Again, I suggest only the best results because Google uses its algorithm to decide what really meets what you're looking for rather than some random pages that may or may not just happen to have the search strings. And then you can choose whether you want it delivered to an email address or an RSS feed. And then you just hit create, and that's it. Now we're done. So I think that's pretty neat. All right, so let's see if we have any questions. Okay, we've got a couple anonymous questions. Let's see. So how did I get started in tech? Okay, that's an interesting question. The way that I actually got started in tech, I was about 13 or 14 years old, and I was actually a writer. I wrote poetry, and I wanted to figure out how to put my poetry out on the web, because the web was kind of brand new and I wanted to know how to do it, and I wanted to just get my words out there to the world. And so in order to do that, I had to learn how to write in HTML and program some websites. So I taught myself how to do that using some online tutorials and created my own little website, posted my poetry out there. And I actually managed to get my poetry picked up by a few different literary magazines by doing that, which was pretty cool. And that made me really excited. And I got so interested in the fact that just by writing this code and things like that, I could actually just communicate with the world enough to get my message out there and actually get a reaction, which I thought was very cool. And then what happened was, right after that, in high school, I took a basic computer class, and the teacher decided to challenge us and say, you know, this is how you would create a website, see what you can do. And she saw what I could do, and she pulled me aside and was like, this is not where you belong, and put me into a independent study programming class. And from there, I learned the real programming, because HTML is not quite programming once you learn the differences. And from there, I fell in love with the idea that you could control technology and have it do what you want it to do by simply giving it commands. And so after that, I just was continuously working with both writing and computers. And I ended up actually double majoring at the University of Miami in computer science and creative writing. And what's very cool is nowadays at BOWA, I'm really using both my skills all the time, because I'm using the creative writing by editing blogs that we write, by working on proposals and things like that. And then I'm using the technology by working on our websites, working on our apps and everything else. So it's pretty cool. Let's see, other questions? Do these tools work on Android and iPhone? Yes, all the tools that I showed you guys will work on both phones. Neither phone is better than the other. I do know that with Google, you might have a few more options, like with the alert options and things like that. But for the most part, everything will work on both phones, because you're not actually using an app. You're just using Google. So you just have to go to your web browser, go into google.com, and then from there, you access everything. Okay, and can I use alerts to prospect for clients? Yes, you absolutely can. Depending on what you're looking for, you just have to figure out what the search string is that you want. Like for us, one of the things that we do is have an alert for calls for speakers, which basically means whenever an event creator is looking for speakers for their expo or their convention, they usually will post a page that's called a call for speakers, where they are asking for people to apply. So we have an alert set up that Google will send us an email letting us know these new pages for calls for speakers have been posted. And for those that then work for us, we'll send it to somebody on our team to go ahead and apply for us, and hopefully we'll get the gig.
And this week's message is, accept yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your truths, and know what tools you have to fulfill your purpose. Steve Maraboli.
I do just want to thank you all for joining me tonight and for your patience. I will definitely see you guys next week, but not in front of the camera. And I hope you all have a great rest of your week and a great weekend, and keep making it happen. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Register online and join us today for all new live interviews and weekly topics only at themastermindcircle.com.